So we are going to go through a problem on finding the difference quotient. We'll do more practice on this during class time. So the difference quotient of a function is given by this expression right here. F of x plus h minus f of x all over h. And we do have a domain restriction that h is not equal to 0. So this is going to be used in calculus quite a bit. It helps us find something called the derivative. You don't need to know that now, but kind of keep it at the back of your mind. So a year from now, when you see the derivative, you'll be like, hey, I remember that. I remember hearing that. So this gives us the slope of a secant line through 2 points on a graph. So let's go ahead and do an example. So there are two methods to do this. You'll notice we have a humongous formula up there. The first method to do it is to break it up into pieces. The second method is just to do everything at once. So I'll show you both. Okay, so method one is breaking up that difference quotient formula into pieces. So the first part of it that I have is f of x plus h. In order to evaluate that, I am going to work this out like that. So go ahead, pause the video. I want you to work it out on your own, please. So if you did that, make sure that you did use the FOIL method and broke this x plus h squared up into 2. That's really important on this. This confuses a lot of people because there's multiple variables. That unfortunately is part of this type of problem. So we're going to get x squared plus hx, which gives us plus 2hx, plus h squared minus 3 times x plus h. Then we're going to simplify that whole entire thing. So this is the first part of it. You will notice, unfortunately, that there is not a single thing in here that can actually simplify right now. But we'll get something that simplifies in just a minute. So now I'm actually going to take that, that ugly formula that I have up there, and I'm going to start plugging stuff in. So the first part of the formula, the part that I have circled in green, is that f of x plus h. That is what I just found. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. The second part of the formula, put that minus in between, I'm going to circle it in red. That's my f of x. F of x actually is what I have right here. And then on the bottom of the fraction, of course, is an h. And if you want to split this up into pieces and put the h in later, you can. So let's go ahead and simplify this out. We end up getting this whole entire unpleasant thing that's in parentheses. Luckily, something nice is going to happen. We're going to get minus 2x squared and plus 3x. Every time you do a difference quotient, you should find that that f of x that you have will cancel out. So the 2x squared and the minus 2x squared are going to cancel. The minus 3x and the 3x are going to cancel. So at least that is something. The next thing I have is 4hx plus 2h squared minus 3h. This is all over h. However you want to think about the next part is fine. I sometimes warn people to be careful about canceling out something that's in the denominator, but as long as you cancel out the h from every single term, you're okay. The other way you can do it is you can factor out an h in the numerator. You're totally allowed to do it that way, and then you can cancel it out from there. But if you can skip that middle step, that's fine with me. So your final answer for this should be 4x plus 2h minus 3. So that's the first method of doing this. The second method of doing this, I'm just going to kind of show you up on up top here. I'm not going to work it all out. Second method is to actually start straight away and just write this whole entire thing out. It's not really a different method per se. It's just a shorter way of doing it than what I just did. Shorter, but more likely to make a mistake. So second method would just be to do this and then simplify everything that you have there. I don't really care which way you do it. You'll get the same answer in the end. So the second example is, I think it's pretty challenging. You probably will too. We get f of x plus h minus f of x over h. That's our difference quotient. So if we're finding the difference quotient of this, we're going to substitute. You can only really do this using method 1, by the way, or method 2, by the way. Method 1 isn't going to give you any shortcuts or help very much. So we end up getting this right here. By the way, that weird looking thing on the top right is a 3. So once you get here, unfortunately, if we're simplifying, we can't just have a bunch of denominators and denominators. So you're going to have to simplify this one out a little bit. Our goal is to get rid of the denominators up there and simplify this out as much as we can. You've probably learned several different ways to do this. I'm going to show you my favorite way of doing this type of problem. So I like to take my numerator and I like to multiply it by a common denominator. Not getting a common denominator, but actually multiplying by a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply this by x times x plus h. Now, with math, we can't just go around randomly multiplying things by x times x plus h's. We're going to do the same thing to the denominator. So it's kind of like we're multiplying by x plus h over x plus h. That's kind of like we're multiplying by 1. And we're allowed to multiply things by 1 in math because it won't change anything. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify this out using the distributive property. By the way, this middle step you can skip if you want, but just going to show you how I'm doing it. So I'm going to distribute the x times x plus h. You'll notice that, hopefully you can see the reason I'm doing this. By the way, I'm going to warn you, in the denominator, do not distribute yet. Whenever you have something like this, keep it in factored form until you actually need to have it simplified in the very end. So my x plus h and my x plus h are going to cancel out. My x and my x are going to cancel out. I end up getting 3, there's an x left over, 3 times x minus 3 times x plus h, that's also left over hx times x plus h. I want to warn you right now, do not cancel out your x plus h's. You can't do that because I have something being subtracted in the numerator. So now I'm going to simplify things out. I get 3x minus 3h. You'll notice something nice is going to happen. This is over hx times x plus h. Nice thing that's going to happen is my 3x's are going to go away. They're going to cancel out. I end up getting negative 3h over hx times x plus h. So once again, I hope you didn't distribute this, because if you did, it would just make it more complicated, because my h's are now going to cancel. I can't do anything else. Please don't try to do anything else. My final answer is negative 3 over x times x plus h. You're welcome just to leave it in factored form like that.